beginning to feel like Fred, though, I think.
There's a reason he avoided us.
I can tell. I just haven't figured out what it is yet. I'll figure it out, though. We'll call the April Area Plan Commission meeting to order, please. Can I have roll call?
Ryan Baker,
Present.
Tammy Bolin,
Present.
James Chrisman, John Collette,
Here.
Jim Crowley,
Present.
Chuck Ennis, Jeff Ford, Norm Froderman,
Here.
Don Folk, John Hanley,
Here.
Debbie May,
Here.
Chris Schweitzer,
Here.
William Verdine, Fred Wilson.
We do have a quorum. Assume everyone's had an opportunity to look at the minutes and the status report. Have any corrections?
Motion's approved. Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We do have a public comment tonight on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Under letter G there, we do have a gentleman who would like to speak, and what he is here to speak about is, and let me back up a little bit and kind of put this all together. It was either last month or 2 months ago, this body adopted a temporary extension for record deadline dates, or for submittal deadline dates, excuse me, for secondary subdivisions.
Right.
Accordingly, and this, as per this gentleman's suggestion, I believe he's here, if you'd like to go ahead and come on up, I would propose that we extend the record deadline dates for approved subdivisions to coincide with the extension we offered those same folks for submittals for secondary approval for a subdivision. And if you would please state your name.
Hello, my name is Dan Walls, and I've lived in Vigo County 63 years, served local law enforcement here for 40, and still working the schools, retired military too. My wife and I originally subdivided our property to sell our home and build our new home in the back, her dream home. And along the way, we got approval. We met with you, and we got approval for that to happen. However, in January, I got COVID, and I got the worst of it. So I ended up in the hospital for a month, and then I'm still not recovered fully, but it took a month of home rest. Somewhere along the way, a letter was sent, I believe it was, giving us a deadline when to get all this done. I'll be honest with you, I've searched everything. We did not receive that letter. And I made a few phone calls to people I knew within here, what's next, because I really didn't know. And then this letter came in the mail saying our deadline was over, and this letter, our property was null and void. Considering the circumstances, I wouldn't plead this case before you if I'd known I purposely caused it to lapse. So I'm asking for an extension,
Sure.
if that's possible. I can have this done tomorrow, but I've lived on that property all my life, and it was my grandparents, and we're going to build a new home in the back. We're not building a subdivision or anything, but just one home.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I need a little mercy and grace here to get this done tonight.
I think we're here to accommodate that.
The extension will also afford us opportunities to send additional letters
Right.
in case this similar scenario has happened. Maybe
Yeah,
somebody is.
Yeah,
they've
you may not be
gotten
the
a
only
mail
case. I think it was
or-
last month we did, and it was a similar situation, but I think we actually extended a period of time, maybe for a year. And does anybody on the Plan Commission have any objections to doing something similar to recording deadlines? You tell us I think it ought to be generous if we.
Would you like those two timelines to run concurrently? Extend it out?
Absolutely, that's fine with me. Yeah,
Like
I'm
one
fine with
calendar
everybody
year.
else. Just need a motion to do so.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. You
All
got plenty of time.
All right, thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you. Jared, you got a director's report, the comment you want to make?
I have a handful of things here, and I know we have a lot to get to, so I'll try and be brief.
Okay.
In addition to what was submitted as a written part of my director's report. You do have in front of you a new agenda that was a handout. Please go by that. It does have updates in it. You have also sitting in front of you in binder fashion, our annual report is ready for your perusal. We don't ask for any activity or action on it today. Please review it at your leisure over the next month, and we will ask for your approval next month for that. We are passing around an email sheet. Again, we are attempting to move forward technologically and begin sending packets out digitally. The first step there is getting your email address. We want to make sure we have a correct email address and are sending it to the correct place. So if, as that comes to you, please indicate on there a email address where we can send that to you. And also, if you would prefer to still have it sent to you via mail, that is still an option. We can still put the traditional packets together and send it to you standard postage if you would prefer. Two more handouts that you have in front of you. One is, actually only one more handout. That's an amended special ordinance number 5 that I'll have you refer to when we come to that agenda item. And here's the other item I forgot. Under the plat committee report, Jeremy and Brenna Sporer, one lot has been moved to the approved category from pending.
Okay. All right. Sydney, I don't want to bypass you like Fred does. Did you have anything to add to your report?
No, I don't.
Okay. Need a motion?
So moved to accept the director's report.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So it looks like the first item on our agenda under old business, subdivisions, minor, primary, secondary, docket number 10, file 7, 2021, Terry Acres.
Is there anybody here to speak for this subdivision? We did not hear from the petitioner or the surveyor on this one, so I would request that it be tabled again this month.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, under new business, docket number 16, special ordinance number 6, 2021, 1122 and 1160, locust from a C3 to a C5 general business district.
The petitioner is Terre Haute Associates Limited Partnership, represented by Louis Britton. Proposed use is for self-storage warehouse units. Proposed zoning is C5 General Central Business District. Current zoning is C3 Regional Commerce District. The property is located approximately 430 feet west of the intersection of 13th Street and Locust Street, and its common address is 1122 and 1160 Locust Street in Terre Haute. It is a reuse and redevelopment area. To the north, it has M2 and C5. To the east, C5 and R2. To the south, C6 and R3. And to the west, M2. Many warehouses are a permitted use by right in the C5 district in the city. A blood plasma center and a Family Dollar currently operates in the existing building and would continue to be allowed due to the looping in the city code that allows uses permitted in the C3 and C4 districts in the C5 district. The petitioner states that the self-storage units / mini warehouses will go into the vacant commercial space inside the existing building. It's a favorable recommendation with the following condition: all required development standards as outlined by city engineering be met.
Picture's worth 1,000 words. I'll save a few words here. I'm sure all of you know where this property is. Some of you will remember this property as Berkmeyer. Some others of you will remember it as County Road. And yet the younger set will remember it as Boys Club. The property in yellow is the property that we're discussing, which joins the former Berkmeyer, County Road, current Boys Club. West, it's bounded on the west by a railroad track, and general property is currently zoned C3. The existing uses will continue. The proposed change is to a C5. Also here this evening, if there are any questions that I can't answer, is Larry Ricaldi, who is the property manager for this property. Unusual for me, but that's the extent of my dog and pony show.
Anyone on the Plan Commission have any questions for Lou? Is there anyone here speaking in opposition to this request? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is docket number 19, special ordinance number 4, 2021, 1108 South 13th from a C1 to a C5 general central business.
The petitioner is Keys Property LLC, represented by Mr. Shagley. Proposed use is electrical contractor's office/storage. Proposed zoning is C5 General Central Business District. The current zoning is C1 Neighborhood Commerce District. The property is located on the corner of College Avenue and South 13th Street. Its common address is 1108 South 13th Street in Terre Haute. It is located in a reuse and redevelopment area. To the north is R2, to the east M2, to the south R2, and the west C5. The petitioner is requesting to rezone one of 3 lots that they intend to build an electrical contractor's office. The other lots are already currently zoned C5. The petitioner intends to remove the existing structures at 1108, 1118, and 1126 South 13th Street to build a new storage office/warehouse for parking. Warehouses for storage and office are both permitted in the C5 district. The site plan for the new building does not indicate that the building will meet the rear setback from the alley. BZA relief will be required from the rear setback if it is not met. The site plan also does not indicate the square footage of warehouse or office space to verify the correct amount of parking is available. Approval of a site plan must be given by city engineering. Hard surfacing is a requirement of the C5 district. The city may also request the lots be combined into a single lot of use. It's a favorable recommendation with the following conditions: all required development standards as outlined by city engineering be met, an amended site plan with the rear setback or relief from rear setback by city BZA, as well as square footage of office/warehouse space indicated to verify parking requirements.
Mr. Shagley.
Good evening, Mr. Acting President, fellow members of the commission. My name is Richard Shagley. I'm with the law firm Bright, Shagley & Lowry, and tonight I'm here representing the petitioner's Key Property LLC. As stated, they own a property that's located on 13th Street. It used to be the home of Homies, which has since closed and was purchased by Keys. Keys owns the next 2 lots further south on 13th Street, where they have, I drove by there tonight, call it 2.5 buildings. They have their trucks everywhere. They've got materials everywhere. It is their desire, with your approval, to tear down the buildings and build one big building so that they can keep everything inside to prevent some obvious issues that can occur. As a result, they're here tonight asking this property to be rezoned from C1 to C5 for that use. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the Plan Commission? Anyone here speaking in opposition to this request? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is docket number 20, special ordinance number 5, 2021, 2517 North 13th, from an R1 to an R1 planned development.
The owner is Miguel A. Amigo and Deborah A. Amigo, represented by Mr. Llewellyn. Proposed use is a re-entry residence home. Proposed zoning is an R1 planned development, single-family residence district planned development. The current zoning is R1 single-family residence district. The property is located approximately 195 feet from the intersection of North 13th and Indiana. Its common address is 2517 North 13th Street in Terre Haute. It's a neighborhood conservation district. To the north, east, south, and west are all R1. Planned developments are uses that may be permitted under certain circumstances that are not a permitted use in the zone district where said planned development is proposed. A planned development is a floating zone. Before a planned development can be considered, the petitioner must show proof of one of the following unique circumstances: that the petitioner has a hardship due to the physical characteristics of the land, a hardship due to the improvements on the land, a hardship due to the adjacent scattered incompatible uses, a hardship due to the general deterioration of the neighborhood, or a parcel located near district boundary lines. When it is determined by the Area Plan Commission and the City Council that a hardship does exist, a planned development of certain uses may be approved for any zone lot. However, it must be determined that said proposed uses, if approved, will be in the public's interest and that substantial justice will be done for that neighborhood. Approval of said proposed uses shall not have the intent of nullifying the purpose of the zoning regulations. The owners and Change Inc., the potential buyers of the property, are petitioning to rezone the property to operate a reentry residence home to provide guidance, counseling, direction, education, and treatment for individuals approved for transitioning from a correctional facility or judicial probation to independent living. The petitioner states that it will provide a structured and supervised environment for short-term, 90 to 120 days, for 8 to 12 individuals at any one time. The petitioner is requesting a variance from City Code, the variance from Section 10-113A1 and 10-113A2 for no additional off-street parking. They also amended the ordinance, which you have, to add the required sections that they need for a variance, requesting relief from interior and rear lot line setbacks for the continued use of an existing garage/storage shed that's there now. So staff gives a favorable recommendation at this time on the following conditions. It must be reported in 90 days and a hardship must be demonstrated.
Mr. Llewellyn.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. My name is Jeff Llewellyn. I'm an attorney with the Wilkinson Law Firm here in Terre Haute. I am here this evening jointly with petitioners.
Jeff turned the lights
Thanks.
Hit the other two, just see what happens. Nope, that's not it. There.
There you go.
The bright was, it was kind of bright in our eyes.
Yeah, thank you. Showstopper, huh?
Yeah.
Joint petitioners, Mr. and Mrs. Amigo and Change Inc., seeking the rezoning from the R1 to the R1 planned development. Change Inc. is an Indiana nonprofit corporation. The principal of that corporation is Mr. Sashi Kumaran. He is with me this evening, working with him as a program director and consultant. Mr. Cale Walker is also seated back there as well, and both may speak to you here briefly also. But as was indicated by staff, we are seeking the rezoning for the purpose of a reentry residence home, a group home facility that will allow 8 to 10 individuals to live in that home at a time. The home is currently situated such that it has enough bedrooms, bathroom facilities. There would be some slight adjustments, maybe changing a wall here or there or adding a shower, but otherwise the home is sufficiently sized to allow those individuals to be there. And I think you'll hear that the need for the program is certainly here in Vigo County and in Terre Haute. It does not exist currently. Mr. Rob Roberts, I believe, is in the audience, and I'll let him speak as well. But on behalf of the prosecutor's office, they are in favor of this program for our judicial system. The courthouse judges, as I understand, are in favor of it, and public defender's office as well. So all kind of reiterating the need that exists for this type of facility. And the request for the rezoning to the planned development is because there is no such use zoning classification within the existing code currently that we can point this use to. So that's the need for the planned development. I believe the hardship can be shown in this instance by the location of this home. It's North 13th Street, 2517. It's a little bit north of the 12 Points area. I'm sure you're all familiar with that, which is a highly commercial area. As you move north up 13th Street, currently 2 blocks south of this property would be Club Soda, which is a commercial type use, very different use from what we're proposing, but still a group type use facility. North of that, 1 block south of the property, is Sacred Hearts Church. And then at the south end of the very block we're proposing is Remnants Antiques and Variety, which is a retail store. So I believe there's a mixed use and changing, aging neighborhood there that would allow the hardship for this. In addition, when you consider what we're proposing to do is to continue to use the home as a residence. It may be a larger family than is usual, and the individuals may not be related individuals, but it would function as a family type residence household still. The individuals that would be there would all be approved by court order and/or the prosecutor's office in conjunction. This would serve as an alternative type sentencing use for individuals who don't either necessarily need to be incarcerated or have been and are being released and back in. And the idea is that this would serve as an opportunity to rehabilitate and reinitiate these individuals into our community, which obviously is a benefit for all of us. The idea being we reduce and/or end recidivism in our system. So we believe it's a very positive program for the community and for the neighborhood. We did ask for 2 variances relative to, 1, parking. And again, the reason for the parking variance is because, again, we're asking for a certain number of individuals living in this home would exceed, it would be like a multifamily use. And so under a multifamily type zoning, you would have additional parking required. But again, in this instance with the individuals that are there, they won't have vehicles. So we really won't have additional parking. We'll have 2 employee to 3 employees on site, and that would be all the parking. So it would be, again, very similar to an existing family type existence. There's no walk-in, inpatient, outpatient type treatment, so you're not going to have traffic coming in and out. So although the variance is required, it really is non-effective as to the use that we're putting there. Similarly, we've asked for a variance on the side yard and rear yard setbacks. That's to allow for the existing garage and shed that sits already on the corner of the property within those existing setback requirements. And the need for the variance is because we're changing the zoning classification, which then requires the setback to be met. So we're not changing the neighborhood in any regard in that manner. So we would respectfully request your favorable recommendation. I'm glad to answer any questions that you might have. I would let Mr. Coomer in as well speak if he would like, and/or Mr. Walker and/or Mr. Roberts.
Any questions for Mr. Llewellyn?
Yeah, are there visitors allowed?
I'm sorry?
Are there visitors allowed?
Well, I will let those 2 expressly tell me that, but visitors?
No. So no one's allowed a visitor during that time there?
Certainly not a show-up type of situation. It could be by appointment or need, but it would not be a matter where you have 8 individuals there and they all have friends coming over. No.
Here,
Yes.
how many bedrooms does this house have? It's got 4 right now, and you're talking. So it's got 4 now, but doesn't have 5. Does anybody see I mean, I think this is a great idea, giving people a re-entry, but I think 8 to 12 is freaking nuts. I think that's just too many for one house, and all you're doing is asking for problems. But
Hey, Sashi,
if you come in here and say something
total
like,
clear.
if you come in here and say something like you've got 4 to 6 people that you're gonna put in this house and rotate out every 60 to 90 days, I could see that, but I can't see 8 to 12 people in this house.
Well, so
with 4 bedrooms. I just don't see it, I'm sorry.
I'll help you out. If you would step in,
Yeah.
tell them your name.
My name is Sashi Kumaran, and just a little bit about myself. I have worked for 26 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections, and I retired on June 19th of 2020. And to answer your question, 8 to 12, the size of the rooms are sufficient for 3 people per room, sufficient for 3. And the reason I say 8 to 12, and this is The reasoning that I have is because if you look at SWAT or if you look at the SEAL team, that's where there's a lot of communications a lot easier. And I understand what you're saying, but because we can have a capacity of 12, we can even do 8. It's not an issue at all. But I think 8 will be great. I mean, as far as the space concerned, that'll be ample in there. That's not going to be an issue at all.
I mean, I just can't see 12. I mean, between you and me, I'm thinking, I looked at this house and the pictures you have of this house, the front and back, and it's 4 bedrooms, which I find amazing, because it's not 2-story, it's 1-story, and it doesn't look like it's all that big.
No, it's 2 stories, sir, 2-story. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs and 1 downstairs.
Is that the house?
Yeah, it's got 2 stories. 3 upstairs and 1 downstairs. In fact, it's got a basement too as well in it.
Sashi, what's your plans to remodel the house?
Basically, what I'm going to do is that when you enter the main room, when you enter the front door, there's a wall, and that basically is just a breakdown. So you have one whole thing where you can have a bigger living room, and you've got a very big kitchen in there as well. You know, and as far as what I've seen, and I've taken a couple of guys in there as well, just to ask them their own opinion as well. And with that, that's basically what it is. Other than that, just repainting, and that's about it, really. I mean, we have already had the house inspected.
What about the exterior and the fence and stuff like that? Anything on the outside?
Fencing, there's fencing all around there, and probably just there's a big patio at the back. Just basically some of the boards are up, and that's basically what's going to be fixed.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's no disputing that a facility like this is needed in the city, but just for clarification, it says it's a reentry residence, but in your explanation, you said in lieu of incarceration. So is it a reentry program for offenders who are coming back into the community, or is it to be used with the courts in lieu of incarceration?
It's going to be, we're going to be talking, I've already spoken to Judge Sheehan. I spoke to Judge Rader before he retired. I spoke to Judge Sheehan also. And Prosecutor Roberts was also online when we spoke to them, and Attorney Ed McGlone. And basically, to answer your question, what it is going to be, offenders who are in the Vigo County Jail right now, they'll be the ones. Basically, the only ones we're going to be taking is felony 6s.
Just for clarification of that statement, that's the lowest level. of
That's
felony
just right above the
and
misdemeanors. Yeah, just right above the misdemeanors.
There would not be any
No,
sex
no,
offender,
no sex
violent
offenders,
criminal.
no rapists, no nothing like that.
So I get your experience with the Department of Correction and your background, and that's incredible. Thank you very much for that service. But what about experience with programming? What kind of programming is going to be offered here?
When I was in working corrections since 2008, I was running the PLUS program. PLUS is a Purposeful Living Unit Serve program. It's a faith and character-based dorm, and I've been running that since 2008. And it's basically a life skills program, but of course it teaches many other things as well. So I've gone through those programs, and of course, Cale Walker, who I have with me, he's also done programming. He does that even right now. So I'm going to work with him as well.
Is that a certified program? I mean, is that a program you go out and get a certification, so your staff's going to be certified in that programming too?
Well,
Mr. Walker is back. Cale, if you want to come up, introduce yourself. Tell them briefly your name and your background as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cale Walker. I'm a current resident of Terre Haute, Indiana, currently employed at Indiana State University, where I am a training and professional development specialist. I am certified in psychological assessments. This assessment is something similar to Myers-Briggs, and also being able to use these assessments to actually help at-risk students. My program that I have that I've actually been utilizing and actually created over 15 years of actually research and experience from the Terre Haute area is also being utilized in Charlotte, North Carolina with an at-risk program. It's also being used right now in Las Vegas, excuse me, Las Vegas with celebrity chef, Chef Jeff. He is using it for the Chef Jeff project to actually help ultra at-risk students. My program has been successful in the Vigo County School Corporation. It has also been successful in the, at Indiana State University. I've worked with several entities in regards of actually doing training, professional development. I'm certified in diversity training, civility and respect, hostile execution, de-escalation. But the main thing that I'm certified in is the DIS assessment, which is a psychological assessment that we use at ISU on a day in and day out basis. This assessment basically helps me and helps other individuals break down the barriers and also the excuses so that they can perform at their maximum level.
So when you say my program, are you talking about, I guess that's what I'm asking.
May I give you this, ma'am?
Sure. Okay, yeah, that helps. Yeah, that'd be great. I think everybody probably would benefit from seeing this.
Of this, the program is an at-risk program. A little more background about me. I wake up every morning free. And then when I say that is because 20 years ago I was released from prison after serving 5.5 years. I don't have a felony, I don't have a misdemeanor, and it's all for the sake of individuals like Rob Roberts, Judge Rader, and also Ed McGlone. This program is successful. This program is completely different than anything that we've ever seen here in Terre Haute. This has 100% value. This program guarantees that any individual that comes into this program will be employed within the first 30 days. After the first 30 days, the next 31 to 45 days, we will actually work with that individual in regards to breaking down whatever barriers or obstacles that may exist in regards of social development, social skills, and so forth. In the last 60 to 90 days, we'll actually start working on a transition program, actually getting them to a point where they can be successful and be able to be independent. I am my program.
So I guess my last question is about staff. 2 to 3 staff? 2 to 3 staff 24 hours a day?
Yes, I'll be there, sure, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be getting at least one of staff.
So the staff with 2 to 3 people all the time? Okay.
I'm just a programmer, and I want to give this program to Terre Haute. This program was designed for Terre Haute, but I'm giving it to every other city and every other department other than my home city. And this is the place that I want to say, this is the place that needs second chances, especially with all the opportunities that are coming with the convention center, the casino. I know individuals who, I don't know how long everyone's been here, but Hill's Department Store, I know individuals who have got criminal conversions from Hill's Department Store that can't even get housing now because of that still on the record. When do you pay your price? I paid mine, and I was afforded to give an opportunity to give a second chance. And I want to give my program and actually do the same thing. I actually met Sashi 20 years ago. He was my correctional officer at IYC.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the Plan Commission have any questions? Rob, would you like to give us a perspective from the prosecutor's office?
My name's Rob Roberts. I'm the Chief Deputy Prosecutor here in Vigo County. I've been working with the Prosecutor's Office since 2000. I was born and raised here in Terre Haute, and I currently live within the city limits just off of 19th and Wabash area. So I have a lot of the same concerns that people raise anytime we're talking about these types of requests. But I also see it from the perspective of the need that our community currently has and the efforts that have been made over the past 5 to 7 years to provide more opportunities for people that are going to reduce recidivism. We've had multiple people over the last 14 years that Terry Modis has been the prosecutor and I've been the chief deputy that have approached us about different types of programs that they would like to get started. We've had multiples that have said, we would like to start a reentry program. We would like to be a part of that, and we've encouraged that. The problem that's always been there is financing and funding. I will say this, the program that's been presented and proposed by these two individuals when they met with myself and the judge and public defender, Mr. McGlone, this is the only time that someone's come and said, I'm putting my resources into this. I want to make this happen. I asked many questions. I grilled them over, similar to what you did. Tell me about this change program. I want to know about it. I want to understand it better before I'm going to put any of my public support or ask Terry to put our office's public support behind it. And asked extensive questions of both of these individuals. How do we do this? How do we make it happen? How do you be successful with these individuals? I was convinced. And when I talked with Terry about it afterwards, Terry said, yes, let's put our public support behind this program. We know the need is there. We know that recidivism is not impacted just by putting people into the Department of Corrections or people being in the jail. And as a community, we've been identifying different options and opportunities to help people to be more successful after they've been incarcerated, whether it's for 30 days or whether it's for 3 years or even longer. A perfect example that I can give you is the social workers that the county council approved last year, as Mr. Schweitzer is aware, and probably some of the others, to start to work with people that have dual diagnosis of both substance use disorder and mental health issues to give them an opportunity to be successful as they're being released back into the community, because we know that that's a big part of our recidivism. Same thing happens when we have people that have been in jail. We know the impacts of people being in the jail or being incarcerated. It's harder for them to find a job, and they certainly don't have the job that they used to have when they're released. They may be in jail for 3 days and lose that job. We know that those types of impacts happen on people, and to have a couple of individuals in a program that's dedicated and devoted to meeting those needs. We've invested a lot in substance use disorder treatment and mental health treatment, but not, if you don't fall in those two areas, we've got a huge gap. And people are coming out of jail and out of prison, they don't have an ID. They don't have a place to stay. They don't have a job. And what are they going to turn to in that situation? They're going to return to what they know. And for us to have a program like this available to meet that gap that is not being filled and not being touched, and frankly, nobody else is even talking about implementing this type of program right now, because we know all the dollars are going to mental health and to substance use. So to have them wanting to step forward and fill this gap is very encouraging. As I said, we support this type of program. Being a resident of a neighborhood where my home was built in 1916, I understand the history of these neighborhoods. I've been in my home for 20 years, and I've seen the changes that happen around, and I get it. But I'm also familiar with what other types of programs similar to this and the impacts, the positive impacts that they've had on their neighborhoods. Not just on the community, but on their direct neighborhoods. And when you look at some of our substance use programs and the positive impact they've had in their neighborhoods, and when you look at some of the programs like were mentioned by Mr. Llewellyn in that particular area, it seems like a great fit for this program to step into, and we hope that you'll support it as much as we do.
Go ahead.
Rob, what kind of oversight will your office have with regard to their program?
Well, we won't have any direct oversight. What will happen is, and again, this is the type of things that I question them on, and communication is the biggest issue between these programs and the criminal justice system. And so we'll certainly be monitoring the communication. Are we getting the regular reports showing people's compliance? If people are not in compliance, are violations being reported to the courts and to our office so that those violations can be addressed by the courts? So we won't have any direct supervision over them, but we will be making sure that the communication lines are there and are being utilized so that if someone is not in compliance, then we can ask the court to reassert whatever control over that situation needs to be reasserted.
And so what would it look like to just simplify it? A person would be incarcerated. Maybe your office would make a recommendation that they'd be a good fit for this program.
Yes.
You would make some kind of plea agreement or arrangement or
Yeah.
work through probation.
Right.
There'd be still some sort of oversight with your department.
Correct.
And so that person would be accountable to come back periodically.
Correct.
And you would ask for assessments from this group as far as reviewing their performance or?
Yeah, and there are two, I mean, there are always two different possibilities for placement in these types of programs. One, they're placed in the program pre-trial before there's any type of conviction put in place, or they can be placed in the program as a condition of their sentence, whether it's a probationary sentence or whatever the situation is. And so, because either of those tracks are going to involve a court order, and our office would be involved in either making recommendation to the courts or engaging in negotiations and reaching an agreement with the defense attorney and the defendant to go into this type of program. So if we don't feel that the person or the individual that would like to go into this program is appropriate for it, we can certainly not agree to it as part of a pretrial release, not agree to it as part of a plea agreement and a resolution of a case. And so we will have that level of supervision in making, either not making those agreements or making our arguments in the court. And then again, we'll be working closely with the program just like we do with the other sober living houses that we have or the other treatment facilities to get those reports and make sure every time a review hearing comes up or every time the next hearing comes up, we know what their status is and whether or not they're in compliance.
Thank you. Thank
Bill,
you.
you had something?
Rob, I just have a real problem. I'm hung up on the number of people. Do you have a problem with the number of people? 8 to 12? I mean, have you been up and looked at, I mean, from
That's what I was going to say. I have not seen the property directly.
I
no.
mean, from the looks of this, it looks like a dump. You know, the backside's screwed up. I mean, there's a ton of work that needs to be done. I've flipped houses. I'm just saying, 8 to 12 people and 2 to 3 people working there in a neighborhood. I mean, I grew up on South 18th Street, and I can't imagine this kind of facility coming into my neighborhood and having, 9 to 12 people in there.
Sure.
And taking care. I think the change program, I think what this is doing is astronomical, needs to be done.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether we probably need 10 houses like this. You know that as well as anybody.
I think that's fair.
But to say that one building, and this is how it looks like, and it's 8 to 12 people, I mean, if it is 6 to 8, I mean, I would 2 per room, everybody gets along. These are grown adults. You know what I mean? We're gonna put 12 grown adults in with other people, and the house needs to be done, and I just have a real problem with the number of people. I think the program is, and I really like what you guys do. I mean, I think it's great.
And I appreciate that. I don't want to interrupt, but I will say this. We have a number of different types of programs that have the similar type of housing that take place in our community every single day. We have the Truman House, which has 3 different homes that has anywhere from 8 to 10 in each one of those different homes. And they're no larger than that. We have the Next Step program, which has developed houses for people that for family units, for individuals, and they continue to put anywhere from 6 to 8 to 12 people in those houses as well. So part of the recovery aspect that I think carries over here is it's the community that's being built, right? Next Step is building a community. Truman House program, they're building a community. Club Soda, much larger facility, but again, it's building a community. And so part of the having those close quarters with a lot of people is helping to build that community. And it's that community that help these people be successful, that help the people that are residing there and that need these services. It helps them to be successful because they're living in close. Somebody comes into the program, many people when they first step into these types of programs are resistant to the program, right? Their primary reason, it's going to get me out of jail. But they get into the program, and then they start to see this person that's been there for 90 days, that has, for the first time in their adult life, they've been working at the same job for 60 days, and they're being successful. They're working on getting their GED, and they're passing those classes, and they're doing those life skills that were talked about earlier. And it's that type of community and that type of close-knit environment that allows that person that's been successful to impact those people that are coming into the program. So I understand, but I've seen over the last 20 years how these programs have developed, how they've developed and expanded in our community, and how successful they've been.
So once you move these this house. Do they have any, do you have any work with him, or do you cooperate with them in any way, or do you check on them in any way?
Yes, and that's probably the biggest part of all of this. I can tell you right now, there have been programs in the past in our community that did not communicate well with the judges. If the judges don't have faith in a program, they don't send people there, those programs disappear. And so I can tell you that if for any reason, and obviously their experience both with the Department of Corrections and with Indiana State University, they understand why those levels of communication are absolutely necessary. But if you don't work well with the system, your program will not survive. You will not have people referred to the program, and your efforts will go for naught. Yes, sir.
So is there like a standard, a metric that they set? Because you keep talking about they won't send them there, or it eventually will dissipate, it won't be used anymore, but I feel like there's no set, standard. It's kind of being more reactive than proactive if something starts to go bad, or because obviously we want everybody to be successful that would enter a program like this. That's the ultimate goal. And we tend to focus on successes because those are what we're after, but there are, there's always the chance of failures and recidivism and things like that.
Sure.
And so my only concern would be if they're self-regulating and kind of, it's on them to communicate, the assurances rather than wait for the communication to break down and then for judges to no longer send people to that program, kind of getting ahead of that a little bit and maybe initiating, and if there's resistance, that would be my only concern.
I guess the best way that I can describe that is every time someone comes up for a hearing, we look and check their status on whatever the program is. And the courts specifically, if they don't have an update from them, I've seen many times in the courtroom, the judge refer over to the bailiff and say, call them right now, I want a status immediately. So anytime someone would come up for a hearing, I would expect that there would be a review of their status in the program. They could be placed on the program as a condition of probation. And then as they're reporting to their probation officer, the probation officer will be checking on a monthly basis what their status with the program would be as well. So there are multiple different avenues for oversight that will take place throughout someone's placement in the program.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Tammy.
I'm sorry
That's
to
okay.
ask so many questions, but is there a user fee for this? How is it funded? Do you take insurance? There's
I'm a programmer.
Yeah.
So the only fee that I see associated with this program right now is just the psychological assessment. And that's the disassessment that will be given to the individual before entering into the house. And that psychological assessment will be sat down with me as a certified disassessment. I will have a trained counselor, certified counselor there to actually help me read the evaluation and so forth. We will work very closely with the court, the probation office, and anyone and all the other entities. This is a transparency program. Accountability is a must. Total transparency, total accountability, total responsibility. I do not want this program to fail because we forgot to check a box. So accountability is a definite in this program. Probation officers, courts, police department have full access to the facility 24 hours for seizures, searches, whatever is stipulated by the probation office. So there will be transparency, and it's an open door for all legal entities downtown.
So there's no user fee. I'm just asking really about user fees for the individuals that are going to be coming to live in this area. Male only?
Male only.
Male only?
Right
and,
now,
you've got to feed them, so if nothing else, you've got a great
right now, I'm in the process of getting, I've got people are writing grants for me right now. So I'm getting grants, and also I've already spoken to Walmart, Best Buy, and some of these other places here in town as well, trying to getting grants and all that. So that's what I'm going to be working with also.
When's your expected? You have a
Well, right now, to be honest with you, because the one thing I'm waiting for is for the rezoning. Okay, once that is done, it's going to take me at least about 2 months. So within those 2 months, because I've already had people working on grants and all that right now for this whole thing. I've been working this for quite a while.
Sure.
So once I get I'll look at least about 3 months from now.
Anybody else have anything else? Chris, one more. Oh, just a
Hold on,
second.
Jennifer. Yeah. Sashi, thank you. 25 years of service in DOC is awesome. Mr. Walker, God bless you. Congratulations on your recovery. I think you're going to hear from the neighbors next door in just a minute. They're getting ready to invest a lot of money in a house next door to you guys. They were the ones that reached out to me to ask questions. Also, 12 Points is doing a huge revitalization up there, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that. So the only thing I would ask of you guys, if possible, if the money's available, to try to clean up the house as much as you can.
Absolutely, because
And that's why I asked you about the remodel. You know, if you can get the outside looking something better,
it's going
that'd
to
be
be,
fantastic.
the bottom line is this, I look at it this way. If I'm not going to put my family in there and I'm not going to be happy with it, then I'm not going to use it.
Okay.
Because my thing is that I want people to realize, that the neighbors to realize that this is not just a dump. This is something where the neighborhood can be proud of.
Okay.
You know, and because this is something that I want to do. And after 26 years in corrections, I've seen where I have failed some of the guys in corrections. And this is something that I feel that I can be successful and I will be successful.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Anything else from the Planning Commission for these gentlemen? If not, thank all of you. That will give anybody that has anything else to say towards this, whether in opposition or support of it, just come up and give us your name and address so we know where you are on the record.
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Jennifer Mullen Perry. I'm with my twin sister, Jessica Mullen, and we own Mullen Renovations, LLC, and I respect everybody here today, and I know I'm friends with a lot of you on Facebook, at least, outside of this, and I know that you're well-respected members of the community. But I'm coming here as, you know, I know this is much needed in the community, but I wanted to ask some questions because I do have some concerns, because my sister and I just purchased the house just north of it at 2521 North 13th Street, a house that was built in 1890, and it was first owned by Colonel Nichols. And we bought that house to restore the historic value of the neighborhood. And it is a huge house, we call it the mansion, and it's gonna take a significant amount of dollars to restore. When I sat at the closing table of the man who had just lost his wife to cancer, I promised him and his daughter I would bring that house back to its glory. But it's gonna take a significant amount of dollars to do that. So we have that house and the house behind it that sits on 13.5 Street, and that is the carriage house. So, my question is if this goes through, you know, and I don't want you guys to take offense of this at all, I'm not being rude, I'm just thinking of it from an investment standpoint. You know, can we, like Chris said, make it really nice too? And maybe even put up a privacy fence for those people who aren't, you know, necessarily comfortable. And I don't say that to offend anybody, but I just, you know, they hear that, and while it's well needed, sometimes people get nervous when they live in the neighborhood. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. And Jessica had some questions that she wanted to ask, right?
Yeah, but why don't give them an opportunity to answer your question too?
Okay.
How are you gonna?
I would just be reminded, please, okay, the reason I say this is, after 26 years of service, not correction, okay? I know sometimes I come off strong, okay? And the reason I say that is because I go by one thing to spend, and it's a two-way street. Guys who are coming there, we're going to be talking to them and finding out what, you know, the type of person they are. Are they wanting to make a change for themselves? Because if they don't want to change, then there's no change. So they have to want to. And when the guys are coming in there, I'm going to make sure that you respect one another as well as the neighbor itself. I mean, as far as that, I can assure you one thing, because I know about accountability, safety, and security. There's no issue on that. I can assure you that.
house that we're talking. But I'm hoping that we're able to keep inside the house that we go out and put some bread. There has to be some kind of look into it.
Okay. So I just had a clarifying question. This is different from the club soda because that's commercial, this is residential. Is that the difference? How is it different than club soda? Just 0.2 miles down.
Last one, I can say this much, they have, if I'm not mistaken, they have 9 people. And I have seen, I was talking to Kevin himself, I'm not putting the place down, but I've seen the good come. There is no, from a correctional point of view, I don't see the account. Whereas in this place, there's going to be account. There is going to be surveillance. I'm going to have cameras in the house. It's not anything where, like I said, because I'm asking permission to do this in neighborhood. And I want to make sure that neighborhood is comfortable as well. It's going to take time for people to do that, but it will.
I think it, that question, yeah, club sodas come and go.
And this, you said there was no visitors, not a coming.
Don't have,
They can leave, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Or,
they're not in.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
And, correction.
Yeah.
This is more or less the basement.
And that's kind of the voluntary approval. And as I say, come and go. This is all of the conditional have to be approved by the board. So there-
But it's not gonna look like 12 people coming and going out. I mean, how many outhouses do they have a day?
The only place
I'm hoping we have, I'm everyone.
Okay.
We're no longer at a certain time.
Okay.
What's different? Sorry. What's different from this program? So, you know, in my process, it is our open,
Okay. I kind of don't want to ask this question now because of what you just said, but I'm going to ask it. From the non-layman's that don't know what felony 6 means, what is that? What's an example?
Under the Indiana law, murder,
Mainly drug related.
A lot of drug related or property crime related violations. There are some low level that qualify for one serious violation.
No, like check sex offenders.
no, not at all.
also,
Okay, Cal, come through. Okay, I have 2 more questions. So, re-entry home data does suggest that there are breeding grounds for drugs, violence, and now COVID. What are your plans to mitigate that?
in the process now, when I say it's two, three times that stand that
last question is, what's the data around the impact to surrounding residential properties? Does the value increase by how much?
Or buy our house.
Or buy both of them.
Yeah.
We haven't done a study in that.
Yeah.
Probably look at time.
Yeah.
Information. Generally, like they would. This isn't the whole.
Right.
We would count.
Yeah, there you go. I know, it's huge. And you did say same-sex will live there? Okay. And then, I have a couple other questions. The price, have you figured out a cost for the remodel? Because that's my main thing. I just want it to look nice. Or put up like a privacy fence or something.
I mean,
Can we
right
request
now,
that?
to be honest with you, I'm just looking at the inside of it. The outside, the back is not supposed to be done. And that's what it needs. All next to it's done.
Wait, okay.
All next.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Well, you know what, you guys,
One more question,
I
I'm sorry, I
respect
just
what
thought
you
of one, I'm so sorry. If your grants that you're seeking don't go through, do you have the backup?
To be honest with you, right now, the house that I'm talking about, 7 feet, I'm gonna talk to this cast. They have already, everything close, they are going to name that house, they've already sent it. As far as anything else, I'm gonna start off, because I'm gonna go take back to myself, start building myself, build a new kid, which there's ample grant. It's just for me, like I said, I've got 2 grant writers right now, looking for that. I know I'll do it.
No further questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this issue? You go right ahead, redirect.
Back to the timing, and I think there was a question about how soon would you be up and running. The code does require, though, after passage by the city council, that there's a limited amount of time that this program must be up and operating as the R1 plan development, and if it does not, property reverts back to its original R1 single family. So there are parameters in place that require them to either get it going properly or they're done.
Thanks. Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Our next item is docket number 21, special ordinance number 7, 2021, 2315 East Margaret from a C2 to a C5 general central business.
The petitioner is Daniel Wolf, property owner same, represented by Mr. Shagley. Proposed use of storage units. Proposed zoning is C5 General Central Business District. Current zoning is C2 Limited Community Commerce District, located 775 feet west of the intersection of 25th and Margaret. Common address is 2315 East Margaret Avenue in Terre Haute. It's a neighborhood enhancement area. To the north is C1, R1, and C2. To the east, M2. To the south, A1, and to the west, R1, PD, and C3. Many warehouses are permitted use by right in the C5 district in the city. The area consists of many mixed uses and abuts I-70 to the south. The storage units are planned to be built behind the existing building. The existing building appears to be within the 5-foot side setback on the east side of the property. BZA relief will be required from the setback. It was not clear whether the existing building is an office or residence. Uses as a residence would not be allowed in the C5 district. Hard surfacing would be required. Favorable recommendation with the following conditions. All required development standards as outlined by city engineering be met. BZA approval for a side setback variance or a site plan showing the structure meets the 5-foot setback, and removal of residents if it's necessary, if it's being used as that.
Mr. Shagley.
Mr. President, fellow members of the commission, my name is Richard Shagley. I'm with the law firm of Wright, Shagley and Lowry. And tonight I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, Mr. Wolf. Mr. Wolf is the current owner of this property at 2315 Margaret Avenue. Mr. Wolf is proposing to sell this property, and the new owner is intending to build storage units behind the existing structure. The potential owner plans to use the front building for commercial use. He's not sure exactly which commercial use, but it's not, the intention is not to use it for residence. The area plan office did bring up the setback issues. The property is currently being surveyed right now. We believe, I guess, and hope that the survey will show that the setbacks are sufficient. If not, we will go through the BZA process and get a variance for the same. As you know, this is Margaret's a mixed-use area, and the ultimate plan for Margaret from 3rd Street to 46, this is going to be a prime commercial thoroughfare. That's part of the plan that was developed for this road. We believe, petitioner believes, that this is a suitable use and that a rezoning of this property from C2 to C5 is within the plan for the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the Plan Commission? Go ahead.
I just, when I'm looking through this, I see that the common address is 1122 and 1164.
They switched, it's the
Oh,
paper.
that's the wrong map.
Yeah, there's a little jumbled up in the,
They jumbled the maps from the other one into that.
Front page is.
I think they got switched.
mine's jumbled too, but.
You go back to the one that was.
So I think the locust one has the Margaret map and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah, pull the first zoning you had out, and it's got the map of Margaret in it.
The very first one we passed, you have to go back to it to find the map.
This used to be the old archery store.
Right.
Docket number 7.
It was confusing me too, but I just went with it. Because I know where it is.
Yeah, I know what it is.
I don't live far from there, I'm just kind of wondering if one says Locust, one says Margaret Avenue.
Yeah. You clear on that now, where we're at? Any other questions for Mr. Shagley? Stay out of the way. I know why Fred didn't come now. Any other questions from the Plan Commission? Anyone here speaking to this issue? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is docket number 22, special ordinance number 8, 2021, 118 North 3rd, from a C5 to C2 community commercial.
The property owner is Patimo LLC, represented by Timothy Hayes. Proposed use is to continue as office building, but also install a self-service ice vending machine. Proposed use is C2 limited community commerce. Current zoning is C5 general business district. Common address is 118 North 3rd Street in Terre Haute. Reuse and redevelopment area, C5 all the way around, north, east, south, and west. The petitioner is requesting to rezone to C2 in order to install a self-serve ice machine in the parking lot on the north side of the building. The building is now used as an office building, and the petitioner intends to continue the use. Vending machines in business and professional offices are both permitted by right in the C2 district. No additional buffering will be required as commercial uses immediately surround the area. Staff has no additional concerns with this request so long as any future site plans meet city code and are approved by city engineering.
Thanks. Petitioner present. Jeff?
Jeff Landland Law Firm. and I have absolutely nothing to do with this. But I stepped up because,
Because you turned the lights off earlier.
did you say it's Hayes?
Yeah, Tim Hayes.
Okay, Tim's dealing with something very personal right now. So I would ask you if from the material you have, you can rule favorably, I'd like you please consider it for him. If you cannot, rather than deny it, I'd ask you to table it. And I do this only as a friend.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go sit down.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Matt Boris, I'm with Myers Engineering, and we did develop the site plan for Tim. I don't know if you have it there in front of you or not, but it's one of those drive-up igloo ice machines that he's gonna put on the north side of his law office, abutting up to the Hardee's parking lot. Okay. So I think Chuck Ennis and his city engineer staff have also looked at this.
Thanks, Matt. There's nobody to ask any questions to, so I assume the planning commission's okay with it.
Yeah.
Anyone here speaking to this issue? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Something new, ice machine, that's fine.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next item is under subdivisions, minor, primary, secondary, docket number 12, file 9, 2021 Mossy Oak.
Okay, the proposed lot has frontage along West Haymaker Avenue, approximately 1,950 feet west of the intersection of West Haymaker and where North Sherburne Place meets Pennington Road. 22.88 acres from a parent tract of 298.94 acres. The surveyor is Mr. Fieroff. The applicant has requested to subdivide 22.88 acres, creating a new lot. The proposed use is building site. Health Department has approved. Public water is available. It is not in a flood zone. Lot exceeds the minimum lot size requirement. The addition of a single-family home will not overburden existing infrastructure. Of course, stormwater drainage is not required with minor subdivisions. The proposed use is building site, which is vague and it could be any number of uses. The approval of this plat will be for single-family residential use only. If any other uses proposed as subdivision will need to be resubmitted as a major subdivision. The approval of this plat is contingent upon the plat being recorded within now 360 days, right?
Yep.
360 days after the plat is dated and signed by the president and attested by the secretary of the commission. We offer favorable, with the only condition being a road cut permit if needed.
Petitioner present. Jeff, anything you need to add, or?
Jeff Pollock, building site, we're gonna build a cabin there.
Okay.
So.
Any questions for Jeff?
No.
Anyone here speaking in opposition to this? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mike Scott. Hi, how are you? I'd like to know what kind of cabin he's building?
Just a little two-bedroom cabin. Eventually, we'd like to build a pole barn to put our tractor and stuff in. So the adjoining acres belongs to my hunting buddies. And so I'm buying I couldn't afford to build the cabin they're building, so we're gonna buy a little piece and build a little two-bedroom cabin to be by the business partner.
Just for hunting reasons?
Just hunting and kind of hanging out. We have friends in town.
So it's not gonna be commercial?
No way at all, no. Yeah, there's been a lot of rumors that we're building a big subdivision. Just a little cabin, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I guess I'm pretty short. I own the property joining the jail. On September 10th, last year, he called me and asked me if I would be interested in buying the property around it. At the 28-2-acre piece that he was purchasing, or, I'm sorry, he was trying to buy the 300 acres off Peabody Coal, which was, I didn't have that kind of money, obviously. He wasn't even interested in this 22-acre piece. He asked me if I'd be interested in buying it. I told him absolutely. I was on my way to Colorado. I said, absolutely, I'll get with you and get back. 2 weeks go by. I talked to him It's like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get the deal done, I can't afford it all myself. The next thing I know, I hear, that his buddies, who obviously had enough money to purchase the entire thing, did, which, okay, I get it. I guess my question is, I've been told different things too. I know as long as there's other people in this room. I'm not against Jeff whatsoever. I mean, he had the opportunity to buy it from those other people that purchased the entire amount of property. I would have loved to have it, but I guess you snooze, you lose. But I've been told that he's going to put up a business to run his offices out of for Mossio. He's going to put a business there to run he's going to run a commercial business out of it.
Well, that could not be done based on this replatting. He would have to come back several times to pull that off.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna build it as Mossville, I'm running through my business, but it's going to be residential, weekend cabin. But I am perfect.
Now, has this been surveyed? Because when I did talk to you a while back, I bought this property, I've owned it for over 20 years. I bought it off my brother, and my brother had a little dispute with another, there's an easement there, he had a dispute with the neighbor, there's a 40-foot wide easement. So he had it resurveyed, and the guy, I'd have to look at it. The guy that surveyed it had passed away. Don't want to badmouth him, but I've been told that I probably need to have it resurveyed. So I guess as long as your survey matches mine, I'm good with it, I guess. I mean, I don't know how that all works. I just don't want to be like, oh, well, don't have what you thought you had.
Yeah, we've got a survey. You own which side of him? Okay. I mean, I can't judge the correctness of the plat, but it appears that it's a legal survey and they found all the property pins.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thanks. Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next item under subdivisions, minor, primary, secondary is docket number 14, file number 11, 2021, Sluter's Farm.
The property has frontage along French Drive and Highway 63, 23.53 acres. Surveyor's Mr. Little. The applicant is requesting to subdivide 22.53 acres, creating 2 new lots for residential use. The variance of scale has been requested with the plat. Health Department has approved Lot 2 has an existing cemetery that must be avoided. Public water is not available. Public sewer is not available. It is not in a flood zone. The lots exceed the minimum lot size requirement. The addition of 1 or 2 homes should not substantially burden the existing infrastructure at this location. Noted on the plat is the existence of a pipeline that traverses proposed Lot 1. This pipeline will have an existing easement that accompanies it. The easement needs to be either placed in the new deed for Lot 1 or depicted and described on the plat. Per Indiana Code 1421-126.5, the Division of Historic Preservation and Archaeology must review any development plans for the property within 100 feet of the cemetery. All construction activities and equipment must avoid the cemetery and its boundaries. If during any phase of the development, artifacts, burial objects, or human remains are discovered, the development must immediately cease disturbing the ground and area within 100 feet of the artifact or burial object and notify IDNR within 2 business days. The variance request is from Section 6103-13B, Scale of Plats. We don't have any issue with that request. The approval of this plat is contingent upon the plat being recorded within 360 days after the plat is dated and signed by the President and attested by the Secretary of the Commission. So we offer favorable on the plat and the variance with the following conditions. Description or depiction of the easement associated with the pipeline be added, and approval of a development plan from IDNR for activity within 100 feet of the cemetery.
Okay. Is the petitioner present? Anything you'd like to add?
No, there is water there that's available for the property.
Any questions from anyone on the Plan Commission? Anyone speaking in opposition to this request?
Rural water. That rural water.
It'd be rural water, yeah.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next item is under subdivisions, major primary, docket number 18, file number 13, 2021, Hawthorne Woods, Phase 3.
The property is immediately north of Hawthorne Woods Phase 2 and Hawthorne Woods subdivision, 25.51 acres, 34 lots. The surveyor is Mr. Tolles. This request is for primary plat approval of a 34-lot expansion of Hawthorne Woods subdivision. Health Department has approved, public water is available, stormwater and drainage calculations will need to be submitted and approved, utilities must be included with the plan, and bonding will be required. Detailed road drawings will need to be approved. Sanitary sewer is available, it's not in a flood zone, the lots do exceed the minimum lot size requirement, and the street must be built to county road standards and be of hard surface. Stormwater drainage, like I said, will need to be submitted and approved, and the area is served with other utilities. The setbacks as indicated on the plat are more restrictive than required. However, they match the existing development pattern of the previous phases. Drainage easements, placement of the sewer and water lines are proposed. Road names are also proposed. No major infrastructure improvements are apparent. Minor plat corrections will be needed before secondary approval. We do offer a favorable on the primary approval with the following conditions needed for secondary approval: drainage and erosion control plan approval, bonding of 110% for infrastructure, and some minor plat corrections.
Go ahead.
Mr. President and members of the commission, I'm Gene Kneffler. Many of you know me, but we've been building houses and developing for about 30 years here in Vigo County. We built Harrison Woods in the 90s and phase 1 of Hawthorne in 2000 and phase 2 in 2011 or whatever. I guess I'm coming back about every 10 years or so. We're building a very nice subdivision as Hawthorne Woods and Harrison Woods are, and this is going to be on the same level as that. As he mentioned, the setbacks are more restrictive. We don't allow 5 feet to the property. We make it 10 feet, so we want a little more spaciousness there than some of the county laws. Engineering is by Myers Engineering, and of course they're going to do everything per the ordinances and specifications and all the requirements and the Rule 5 stormwater control and all that sort of a thing. Obviously approvals have to be gotten from the city for the sewer, from the state for the sewer, and all the utilities and so forth. And as you mentioned, we're going to build the roads to the county standards or requirements. And we intend to do phase 3 under the same requirements as the other phases as far as sizes of the lots and the finishing and the approvals and everything like that. So I think it's going to be a nice addition.
Any questions for Gene from the Plan Commission? Anyone here speaking in opposition to this request? Go ahead. Pardon? Absolutely. I mean, go ahead. You raised your hand first. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Philip Haverly, and I'm an adjacent landowner to this proposal. And I'm standing here, but I literally don't know why I'm standing here, so I'm counting on your expertise to flesh me out a little bit, rather than get secondhand information. I wish him nothing but the best for his project, but I do have some concerns, and I don't know what rights or responsibilities I have. It is directly adjacent to a farmland that has been in my wife's family for 4 generations, and we're very concerned about protecting farmland. That's really the only thing that drives us to being here today. I've looked at the proposed map, and I do have one concern about there's a cul-de-sac that is on the very southwest corner that looks like it will literally be touching the farm field. And that's a very steep grade there, and I'm concerned about if they do any leveling, what the erosion's gonna be to the farm field that's right there. So is there any way to get assurances or to protect that field from erosion?
We get that question a lot, probably the biggest question on any subdivisions that are ever developed, and the answer is there are many regulatory agencies that will be involved in this development, and the answer is he cannot do anything to the property that would adversely affect any adjacent properties, to put it simply.
All right. Next question is, and I appreciate the nice short answer. The density of this subdivision is going to obviously drastically increase what had been hunted woodlands there. And I'm concerned about my farming activities that spread manure and fertilizer and typical farm aroma. And I don't want complaints from the neighbors of this established process. Is there anything I can do about that?
I can give you a short answer to that, too.
Yes.
You were there first. Oh, I can't guarantee you that somebody's not going to complain.
Yes.
But they can't do anything about it.
Okay.
To interject, there is a very specific section of the code that states anybody living within 1/2 mile of an agricultural operation cannot complain about any activities agriculturally related, whether it be smells, sounds, dust, noise, any of those activities.
Okay. That doesn't mean they won't complain.
Right.
It just means it doesn't have any merit.
I am not going to put hogs in there, so don't worry. Is there anything that I can do to be sensitive about noise and light pollution?
Only to the extent that there are county ordinances, and given the nature of the subdivisions he's developed,
okay,
I personally don't believe that could possibly be an issue.
I'm concerned about livestock being spooked by loud noises or parties in the backyard, because a lot of these lots, the backyard is right there on the field. So.
You help me with that one?
Is there anything about that like they would spook my animals, or? I mean, do I have any recourse if that were to happen?
You ever had anybody ask that question?
Yeah, that's a new one.
Okay. All right.
The county does have ordinances against noise and stuff like that, but, I mean.
Is there like a decibel level that
Absolutely.
can come off of a resident's house?
Absolutely.
Any idea what that is?
No, but if you want to stay here, I'll talk to you after the meeting and I'll get your information. I can send it to you tomorrow.
That'd be great, thanks. Okay. And the last question, I think I discussed with you briefly. On the map, there were 2 surveyor marks that looked like it indicated the most eastern part of his proposal. And there were 2 stakes there, and it looks like they're in conflict to each other. And there's about 30 feet difference, and that would make a big difference about.
Matt, Matt, do you have that information by any chance, or do you know what he's?
Got a copy here.
He's talking about the northeast corner where it has 2 fountain ends.
Oh, I see that, yeah, right.
2 feet apart, 2 rods.
Yeah, that's identifying an adjacent.
Right there.
Yeah, those 2 there.
That just shows that there are 2 different parcel lines right there. Are you right here?
Yes,
Yeah.
here and down here.
Yeah. So your line actually is the dark line right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the second one,
Well, that would be that dashed line, and I'm not, that must be some sort of an easement line or a parcel line of some kind for these there.
okay, I guess my concern is what's the possibility that's the true mark? And then coming straight south of that?
Very, very little to none.
Okay.
We follow a surveyor by the name of Robert Johnson, who
Okay.
did the original work. Bob has since passed away, I think, in 2015, but we follow his footsteps.
Okay, so would I be wise to get another surveyor to clear that up, or?
You
do
can
think
call
it
us and
doesn't-
we'll survey for you.
Well, wouldn't that be a conflict?
Well, you also found, as you go, I guess, south, you found other pins
Yeah,
along
yeah.
that same line.
Those,
So there really can't be any
So
question.
there's another, you found markers
oh yeah,
there too?
all of these corners are Bob Johnson's original pins that we found.
That satisfies me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Matt.
And the last one is, the property's been farmed for 4 generations. We just started, my wife and I just moved on to the property about, well, it's been about 9 years now. We just started the process of developing, of exploring the idea of putting a small family plot on the south, what would be the southwest corner, which comes up next to that area that's getting developed. Does that complicate things?
Not for us.
Okay. So there's no setback that I would have to observe or anything like that?
Not anything that this new development would change.
Okay.
You would certainly have setbacks on your development, but his development's not gonna change your required setbacks.
Okay, so if he develops right to the line,
He can't.
he can't?
No, he has setbacks as well.
Oh.
So the
well,
same setbacks apply to him as apply to you.
Then I guess I had,
Not the infrastructure.
but there's a
There's a
cul-de-sac.
road, the road can go right up to it.
Sure.
You can run easements and run utilities right along it.
Right, but
no
nothing he
structures.
does on his property has any effect on his setback, your setback requirements.
Oh, it doesn't affect my setbacks, okay. And it sounded like something about 100 foot, but well, that's a whole.
That was the
Of
cemetery.
cemetery.
Yeah, that has, you have a whole bunch of things to do to
Yes.
consider that.
Yes, I know. I have a whole bunch of years too. I hope. That's it.
Okay.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You wanted to speak? Go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Kathy Taylor, and my husband and I, Larry Taylor and I, are residents of Hawthorne Woods, and we own lots 36, 37, and 38 located on Oak Crest Lane. And we just would like to voice our support of the petition of Mr. Gene Kneffler to expand the subdivision beyond its current boundaries. Mr. Kneffler, in meeting of the Hawthorne Woods Board of Directors on March 1st, 2021, provided us information with regard to the preliminary planning for that expansion, and the preliminary plans included a rough overview of street layouts, lot sizes, and the covenant restrictions would be consistent with those now existing, and it is our hope that the Vigo County Area Plan Department would approve of this new phase with those covenant criteria intact. At that meeting, several questions were addressed and answered to the satisfaction of our board members. And it's been our experience that Mr. Kneffler takes pride in his work and exhibits meticulous attention to the planning and detail. We believe that this expansion of our current subdivision boundaries will not only enhance both our immediate neighborhood, but also the surrounding area of the county. And I've got a copy of this. I only got this.
You can print them down there. Thanks.
And as far as noise, sir, Mr. is it Hensley? Okay, I don't think you'll have a problem, because if there's any noise at that level, the board of directors will take care of it. We have a real active homeowners association, and so.
Thanks, Kathy. Good. You got it. Thank you. Anything else? Go ahead.
I'm a member of that board, and I'm real old, and I like to fly. I want to thank all of you present for allowing us and notifying us in a timely manner to attend to this. And I will be submitting a written copy of my comments as well for the records. In effect, we're here, I'm here, and my wife, Deanna. My name's Elmer Guerry, and we live at 2455 North in the area just to the south of what he's going to be building. And we certainly support the petition of Gene Kneffler and request you to approve that because we had the greatest confidence that what they do is just first class. And I'm going to address 4 concerns that I hope the planning department will look at very closely. As Ms. Taylor said, we're concerned that any covenants for Phase 3 should include the same declaration of covenants that I've identified by specific reference as being filed with the county recorder. And in the Hawthorne Woods Subdivision Board of Directors meeting that she referenced on March 1st, Mr. Kneffler provided an update on the Phase 3 project for us, including his assurances that the new lots would be approximately 1/2 acre or so in size and would be subject to the same covenant restrictions to preserve the size of home, square footage, and appearance of homes consistent with homes currently existing in the subdivision. Those assurances were published in the Hawthorne Woods Spring Newsletter of 2021, which I will provide as an exhibit. As the approval of covenants for Phase 3 is incumbent upon approval by the Vigo County Area Planning Department, we respectfully request that if there are any changes in the covenants as approved by you for Phase 3, that we would so be notified, because our intent would be to take whatever action we possibly could to object. We are extremely pleased. We are one of the few subdivisions of which I'm aware that take very, very forceful enforcement of our covenants. And we've not had problems in that regard. We've had good cooperation from our residents, and we're very serious about these. We believe that any reduction in terms of the present covenants could substantially negatively impact our investment in our community as well. And we ask for your attention to specifically those covenants and preserving them. There are 4 issues that I'll be addressing. The second one is we were very much initially concerned with the increase in traffic, especially construction, delivery, and earth hauling and handling equipment might be harmful to the roads in our community. The roads have been taken over by the county. They are specific relating, the county has approved those. In addition to what the county does, we take steps within the community to maintain those roads on a routine basis, and we pay for those ourselves. And so we want to make absolutely sure that we protect those things. Some contractors and service and delivery personnel in the past have been much less than responsible in driving off of roadways onto properties and berms of our residents and dragging mud and soil into the roadways without cleaning, the results of which we have to do as residents at our own expense. And we've been doing that. But that has been a real concern to us, which we shared with Mr. Kneffler. In the same board of directors meeting referenced above, he informed us that he has obtained an easement from a landowner to the north of Phase 3 properties for ingress and egress to Phase 3 roadways, and that via that easement to Old Fort Harrison Road. The existence of such an easement, if used by traffic associated with building and development, greatly assuaged our concern for protecting our existing roads within our subdivision. The capacity number 3, and this is a primary thing that I think we're looking to you in your responsibility and I think obligation to examine, and that is this existing sewage lift station that we have there. We have been told that, in Mr. Kneffler's belief, that it is sufficient to handle Phase 3. And we want to make absolutely sure, in his discussions with us, he said, and I don't quote verbatim, but that certainly would be something that the Area Planning Board would be looking at. And I hope that that is correct, because we hope that in your examination of that, you will coordinate very closely with the City of Terre Haute sewage treatment plant personnel, because they have been very, very cooperative with us in maintaining that lift station, and we want to make sure that any hearings and subsequent investigation involves that department as well. And I think that you normally do that. We're looking forward to the investigation, the judgment, and the decision of your department in this regard, because we know some of the difficulties that can arise from a problem in that area. One of our residents is a past head of the Civil Engineering Department at Rose-Hulman Institute, and he works very closely with us. That whole subdivision was developed with oversight from that standpoint, and this lift station is very, very critical to us. We're confident in our past dealings with Mr. Kneffler that at this point he sincerely believes that what I've said is true. This is sufficiently sized. We also appreciate the fact that he has assured us he will be working with you, and that is something you will look at. And I hope I have your pledge in that regard. The fourth thing, and perhaps this is our really greatest concern. We have, my wife and I built our home there 11 years or so ago. Mr. Kneffler and Gene and Diane built it for us. We could not find a thing wrong with anything they've done in terms of quality, quantity, anything else. So our main concern that overrides everything I've talked about, all these four areas, what happens if the Knefflers are no longer involved in the development of Phase 3? Number one, they could sell it to someone else, and that's a possibility. And so we are looking to your department and to the approval process for Phase 3 to ensure that a subsequent developer or builder would be adhering to the same standards. That is our primary concern. The primary concern is not with any lack of promise or poor faith with the Knefflers. I don't think you could find a better ambassador for those two folks than my wife and I. We strongly believe in their integrity, the quality of their work, and those things. All of the things I'm talking about, all these areas, are from the standpoint of, are we protected from a party we could possibly not even know at this point in the future? With that in mind, Deanna and I have lived there for 10 to 11 years, and we own the five lots there, which is the most single owner lots in that area. So we're concerned not only for our investment, but for the community, which is very, in our terms, the best place we want to live and live there forever. So if we respectfully request you look at those areas that are outlined here, and I was especially pleased, this gentleman made reference in his overview to a phrase that I'm going to try to get pretty close to, that the plans are going to be consistent with previous phases. I think you meant that sincerity, and I hope so, because that's what our goal is. Sure. So thank you again, and once more, and I'll give a copy of this to the recorder and a copy of the newsletter. But if every builder and every developer had the attitudes that the Knefflers have, you folks would be out of business.
Thank you. Nobody else? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Next item, under county rezonings, docket number 6, UZO number 3, 2021, 801 West Spring Hill from a C7 to an M1 light industrial.
The property owner is David Roberts. Petitioner is Tyler Cridfloss. I apologize if I said that. I was like, I don't know how to say that. Proposed use, industrial manufacturing. Proposed zoning, M1 light industrial. Current zoning is C7 general commercial district. The property is located on West Spring Hill Drive, approximately, I don't know if that's supposed to be 3,900 feet or 900 feet, I apologize. East of the intersection of State Road 63 and West Spring Hill Drive. It's known as 801 West Spring Hill Drive in Terre Haute. It's a suburban residential. To the north is C4 and M1, to the south A1 and OS, to the west C7, to the east A1 and M2. This rezoning is in response to a violation that occurred in October 2020. Forever Buildings was permitted to complete a one-time non-substantial, less than 50% of the assessed value renovation of the interior of the existing structure because this is in a flood zone. Upon inspections, it was discovered that a substantial addition had been built onto the east side of the building in violation of the flood hazard ordinance for Vigo County. The original building permit stated that no square footage could be added and was signed by Tyler of Forever Buildings. A stop work issue was ordered. Correspondence began with Chaz Leino of Forever Roofing in regards to getting electricity turned on for the location. We were unable to permit electricity for the new structure due to the violation. Mr. Leino informed area planning that they had moved in machinery to manufacture steel roofing panels and steel roofing trim pieces. The building does not appear to meet 60-foot setback along Spring Hill or minimum 15-foot side yard setback to the west. Relief from setbacks from County BZA will be needed. The site plan does not include parking. Hard surface parking is required in the M1 district. The petitioner did acquire a letter of map amendment on March 15, 2021, stating that the structure, including the addition, was removed from the special flood hazard area. Remaining property remains in the special flood hazard area, so any further addition to the building or any new structures will need to comply with the flood ordinance standards and may negate the LOMA. Staff does offer a favorable recommendation on the proposed M1 rezoning request with the following condition: that they get a building permit for the addition that was put on. BZA approval of variance is needed, and a revised site plan showing necessary parking with hard surface for all parking spaces.
Yes, so my name is Tyler Cornfloss. I am here on behalf of David Roberts. I also filled out the permit application, and that was a mistake upon our office in our correlation as well with the operations. Unfortunately, they built what was not permitted, and we have since redacted that, and we're working towards getting that taken care of, permitted, and working towards a variance as well. The site plan and everything, I've been speaking with Sydney and Penny Call to get that taken care of.
Okay.
And in regards to the LOMA, we have gotten the addition that was not permitted for and a part of that, so it is considered within that as well. And the building that David Roberts previously owned has actually been recently sold to Integritas. It is proposed, the new owner is proposing to use it for roofing, steel roofing and siding manufacturing, and selling that to retail in the Terre Haute, Indiana area. We are needing the 3-phase electrical for the machinery in that production, which this would include but not limited to, just 3 machines, 2 benders, and 1 roll form.
Any questions from anyone on the planning commission? Anyone here speaking in opposition to this? Can't be. I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is docket number 17, UZO number 4, 2021, 6210 and 6112 North Crow from an A1 RS to an RS A1 agriculture and rural residence.
Okay, so the property owners are Scott and Marilyn Schaffstall, represented by Mr. Lind. The proposed uses are for Lot 1, single-family residence, Lot 2, single-family residence, Lot 3, agricultural, personal storage, and occasional repair thereof. The proposed zoning is single-family residential suburban for Lots 1 and 2, and then Lot 3 is, again, agricultural, personal storage, occasional repair thereof. The current zonings are RS and A1. The property is located approximately 147 feet south of the curve of East Auk Avenue and North Crow Street, commonly known as 6210 North Crow Street and 6112 North Crow Street, Brazil, Indiana. Areas identified as rural preservation. Surrounding uses are all either residential, suburban, or agricultural. The property owners are requesting rezoning to resolve the issue of having different zonings overlapping on new lots created as a part of Schaffstall subdivision, which was docket number 3, file 2-21. That subdivision was approved contingent to this rezoning and health department approval. There is no proposed change in the use for the petition properties. The Vigo County Health Department, I have an update on that. They were awaiting details for existing septic system on Lot 2. So our recommendation was favorable based upon the Health Department's approval. Same with the subdivision. We've received an approval from the Health Department, but they are requiring some additions to the plat in the way of absorption fields be identified, the non-livable structure, which has been converted to a livable structure. They need to identify septics and all of those things. So I would offer a favorable recommendation so long as, and it looks like everything is going well, they continue to work with the Health Department to make any modifications to the original subdivision plat that need be done.
Mr. Lind, I'm gonna ask you to turn the lights off again in a minute.
Jeff Lind, Lindlaw Firm. I am here on this matter. I'm nowhere near the light switch, and I'm not going to talk for any more than 45, 50 minutes. It's a simple issue. Scott's parents, I think, subdivided along the road with the idea that they might sell some lots for homes many years ago. They had one buyer, and the family's owned it ever since, all around. It's out in the country. But as a consequence of that subdivision, there's a line drawn right between these new subdivision lots where it's agriculture on one side and residential on the other. So all we're here for tonight is to make the residential lots residential, and the southernmost lot will retain its agricultural character and be zoned agriculture. So it's not half residential and ag also. The surveyor is here, Scott's here. Scott's been working with the health department. We've got a permit from the health department issued yesterday. Scott, show this to your surveyor, talk to the health department, get her done. All right? And I can answer any questions. Anything I can't, Scott can.
Any questions from the planning commission? Unless Scott opposes it, there's nobody else here.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. The motion passes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now we can adjourn to home.
That's it. Got a motion to adjourn?
So moved. That's kind of what she said.
Those
That's
in
what I said,
favor?
and let's go
Aye. Yeah, we know why he didn't come. He looked at the packet.